We bring you the latest updates from the Pna Newsroom. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said the recent travel of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to Singapore was upon the invitation of Singapore Prime Minister PM Loong. During the Senate budget deliberation of the Office of the President and the Presidential Management Staff, Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Pimentel III asked Bersamin about the trip. According to Bersamin, the trip was partly official and partly personal, and distinguishing the sources of funding for it was difficult, which is why he called it irrelevant when asked by the media. Bersamin also insisted that the trip needs to be kept secret because it was not a state visit. Marcos's visit to Singapore enabled him to watch the Singapore F1 Grand Prix with some top international officials and businessmen, which earned the country additional investment pledges.
Lang pag-usapan natin ni Iyes yung visit to another country. Okay ka lang doon?
By all means po.
Sige po. Yung
As far as we will...
yung last visit sa Singapore, is that personal or official? Pag personal, wala na akong tanong.
Yes. No, it was mixed, if you may put it that way, because the President was actually invited by the Prime Minister of Singapore to join him in that revival of that F1 racing in Singapore. And the President most likely saw an opportunity for him to expand on the goodwill that he generated when he made the official state visit. But of course, we could not announce that beforehand for security reasons. It is obvious. And the visit then was partly official, partly personal. But when I was asked about this in a press conference that was informally initiated by me, at the time when the press secretary was not yet appointed, or there was no press secretary, I had to say to them in answer to a question that looking at or distinguishing the sources of funding for that trip between the personal and the official might be very difficult, so I called it irrelevant. Kasi po, meron tayong obligasyon na kung saan pupunta yung presidente, kasama man yung pamilya niya o hindi, hindi naman niya iniiwan yung pagka-presidente niya. So, obligado pa rin yung gobyerno na alagaan siya, i-secure siya. At that was my point when I made that statement.
Or from the inputs of the Executive Secretary, kita natin na yung the root of it all is the invitation from the Prime Minister of Singapore to Mr. Bongbong Marcos as President of the Republic of the Philippines. So, therefore, that was an official trip. Then COA na pong mag-audit naman yan sa expenses na charged to the budget of the Office of the President. Okay, so that was an official trip.
Former Senator Leila de Lima is in stable condition at the Philippine National Police General Hospital a few days after she was taken hostage at the PNP Custodial Center. PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. said de Lima has been admitted to the PNPGH since Monday due to acute coronary syndrome, costochondritis, and hypertension. Azurin clarified that de Lima's ailments were not caused by the recent incidents. Aside from undergoing medication, she has been provided 24-hour security detail. Meanwhile, Azurin said that de Lima's camp is free to seek her transfer to other facilities. He said if the former senator feels that she is no longer secured in Camp Crame, then she could opt to be transferred to the armed forces. Meantime, Azurin directed the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG, to investigate and conduct a physical security check of the custodial center, as well as a review of standard operating procedures in the facility. The Labor Department is drawing up plans to provide assistance to workers who might be affected by the plan to ban POGOs in the country. In a Laging Handa briefing, Labor Undersecretary Benjo Benavides said the government is now coordinating with the private sector to implement a comprehensive social protection policies and programs to aid the affected labor force. Benavides, meantime, noted a decline in the number of POGO workers in the country, noting that only about 23,000 applied for work permit, lower than the applications they received in the past years.
Sinisigurado po natin na under the labor code, yung mga manggagawang mawawalan ng trabaho ay kailangan bigyan po ng separation pay. Ito po yung makakatulong sa kanila para itawid yung pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan hanggang sila ay makakuha ng panibagong trabaho. Meron din po tayong unemployment insurance. Naalala niyo po nung nakaraang pandemya, maraming nawalan ng trabaho. Malaki po ang tulong ng unemployment insurance. Bukod po dito, tuloy-tuloy po yung ating mga programa sa retooling at upskilling. Ngayon po ay bahagi na ulit ng DOLE, yung TESDA. Malaki po ang pwede po nilang maitulong sa reskilling at retooling. Bukod po dito, tayo po ay merong mga job facilitation programs, katulad po ng mga isinasagawa po nating job fair at referrals.
Meanwhile, a labor group called Nagkaisa earlier called for fair and equal treatment for foreign workers in the country, including those working in POGOs. This following the enforcement of summary deportations against thousands of POGO workers who are mostly Chinese for violating immigration and national laws. The labor group said the Philippines, being a signatory to United Nations conventions, has the obligation to extend not only non-discriminatory policies, but also immediate protection and support for workers of other nationalities.
Tama naman po yun, Sir Aljo, yung panawagan. At kami po ay naniniwala na lahat ng manggagawa, irrespective of nationality, kababayan man po natin ito o dayuhan, ay kailangang tratuhin po natin ng tama. At tama po yun, ang kagawaran, ang Department of Labor and Employment ay may rehistro ng mga foreign workers, kasama na po dito yung mga POGO workers. Ang DOLE po ang nag-i-issue ng Alien Employment Permit at yung Bureau of Immigration po nag-i-issue din po sila ng mga permits katulad po ng Special Work Permits at Provisional Work Permit.
The Department of Justice, or DOJ, continues its crackdown on Philippine offshore gaming operators that are illegally operating. In a public briefing, DOJ spokesperson Miko Clavano said they are focusing on POGOs whose licenses have been canceled by the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation. Clavano said they will cancel over 48,000 visas of Chinese nationals in illegal POGOs, after which they will be deported. At the same time, they have received requests from Chinese POGO workers to help them transfer to legal POGO companies. Clavano also said they are looking into the spread of sexually transmitted diseases among POGO workers. The DOJ hopes to curb the criminal activities involving POGOs, such as human trafficking and prostitution in sex dens patronized by Chinese nationals.
Alam ho natin na maraming krimen ang nangyayari, diba? Every day. Araw-araw meron tayong nare-receive na report, may nasasampahan ng kaso, criminal case. Pero itong mga crimes na ginagawa ng mga Chinese nationals ay napaka-skandaloso. Ito yung mga media, ito yung mga reports na nakukuha namin at hindi talaga maganda tignan at mukhang ginagawa nilang playground ang Pilipinas. So, kaya alam ho natin, no, lumabas ho ito sa Senate hearing na marami namang krimen ang nangyayari araw-araw. Pero itong mga ginagawa ng mga Chinese nationals sa illegal POGO industry ay nakakaabala, nakakalungkot, nakakagalit minsan. Kaya kailangan natin mag-crackdown dito sa mga POGO operators na ito na wala ng lisensya at illegal ang pag-operate nila dito sa Pilipinas.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources has called on nearby communities to help protect the Philippine tarsier after one of them were rescued in a remote village in Basay Town, Samar. The Community Environment and Natural Resources Office in Santa Rita, Samar, reminded villagers that catching tarsier is prohibited as it is classified as a near-threatened species. The team rescued the tarsier on October 3 after it was caught by two residents on a farm in Basay. It was released in a forested area in Girang Village near the Samar Island Natural Park. The Senro hopes to raise awareness of people, especially in communities living near the park, which is the natural habitat of the tarsier and other endangered species. Under RA 9147, or the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, it is unlawful for any person to willfully and knowingly exploit wildlife resources. And those are the latest and the biggest stories from the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. We are also shown on the pages of the Office of the Press Secretary and Radio Pilipinas RP1. I am William Theo. We tell stories that inspire change.